Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Watch More Movies. I am your host, Ricky, and today we will be playing a bit of catch up for the year in cinema. Thank you for your patience and the delay in episodes. I'm going to be back on track with a weekly schedule, so I will not be going anywhere. If you're like me, trying to catch up on the year and go back on some of the year's films that you missed and decide which are even worth watching, there are some that I hope we can talk about today. Today, I think to make it easier and more accessible, I will be recommending a handful of films and direct you to which streaming service you can watch them on, and just do a little brief discussions on them. I won't go super in depth, but give enough time to give my thoughts on them. At the end or the beginning of the year, I will go and do an entire ranking of all the films I did see this year that are brand new releases and talk about each one, so that'll be safe for that. These ones are obviously not like the best movies of the year or the ones that are the highest up there or anything like that. They're just some that are on streaming services that I would recommend. For today, the first one is going to be from Netflix. The first recommendation from Netflix is Frankenstein. If you had the chance to catch my Guillermo del Toro deep dive, you'll know that this wasn't my absolute favorite this year or of his. I was a little mixed to positive on it. There's so many cool things I love about it, especially Jacob Elordi as Frankenstein's monster. His performance alone is worth your time to watch it. It isn't much of a hidden gem or anything. When it was released, I know it was like number one on Netflix or something, but if you haven't seen it quite yet, I still encourage you to watch it from a director who is still one of the most passionate people working today. The second Netflix recommendation is Train Dreams from the duo behind last year's masterful Sing Sing. Train Dreams follows Robert Grainer, who is a laborer, mostly cutting down trees for wood in the North American West. This is a moving drama about love and lost love, passage of time through grief and human connection. This isn't a typical Oscar bait, Sundancey kind of film that has some huge scene of melodrama and gets played like that throughout the entire runtime. There's a lot to unpack with this movie, accompanied by an all-time career performance from Joel Edgerton, who gives so much range here as a man going through all of these emotions and feeling hopeful and hopelessness all at the same time. I don't know how a human can go through all of what Robert does, let alone an actor portraying all this with such grace, subtlety, and perfection. It has a payoff that makes the entire experience worth it. This is one you can bet at least should keep up in a awards season conversation and deserves to as well. The final recommendation for Netflix actually just released about a week ago, December 5th. It is Noah Baumbach's Jay Kelly. Jay Kelly, played by George Clooney, is an aging movie star who decides to drop out of an upcoming film in hopes to intercept his daughter in Europe as she goes on a trip with her friends right before going off to college. While not as good as the incredible film from Baumbach in 2019, Marriage Story, he returns on making intimate and funny dramas about characters entering stages in their lives and how to deal with or navigate it. Everywhere he goes, Jay Kelly cannot help but be recognized, stop for autographs or photos, but at one point on public transit, he says, "How can I play people when I don't see people?" And this kind of summarizes how he sees himself at this point. A person who, without spoiling, pretending to be so many things, playing himself in films, and that he pretends to be this version of himself to justify how he's lived his life up until this point, with everyone around him, which comes back and catches up to him throughout life. George Clooney, Adam Sandler, all the cast is absolutely terrific. I really like this one from Baumbach. Like I said, not as high up there for me personally as like Marriage Story was, or even some of his earlier films, but it is still worthy of his upper echelon of films, and I'm really glad to see Baumbach back in his sort of natural habitat. Now on to HBO Max. The first recommendation off of the service is Mickey 17 from director Bong Joon-ho, who also directed the 2019 Parasite, which went on to win Best Picture. Mickey 17 follows a future society with humanity looking to colonize another planet far away. In order to test the surface and any potential dangerous creatures that inhabit any of these new planets or systems, they use an, quote, expendable that can be brought back in a newly created form of their body. In the event that the expendable dies trying to do dangerous things that has a high risk of death for everybody else, this was incredibly fun and a lot more fun than I expected. Bong Joon-ho has a way with his humor and sensibility that has always hit the right nerve for me. It's quirky but never forced and right in line with who his characters are. Robert Pattinson is hysterical as Mickey and really gives so much depth to this guy, or multiple versions of himself, who are just down on his luck and want to have a better life, but is treated like the expendable with everyone he knows for his whole life. Mark Ruffalo playing a version of a known figure, I won't say who, as the villain in the story, is a bit over the top, but still spot on and still hilarious regardless. The movie went under the radar since it released in, I think it was January or was it March, but I definitely recommend it. Check it out. It's a really fun sci-fi film and comedy, both in their own right, with great performances all around. The second recommendation off HBO Max is going to be Ari Aster's Eddington. Eddington takes place at the height of the COVID pandemic as a sheriff and mayor face off for the election. This is a satire in America, obviously, and how we all were at this crazy time in history. It follows Sheriff Joe Cross, played by Joaquin Phoenix, and his head-to-head battle over the town of Eddington against Mayor Ted Garcia, played by Pedro Pascal. This is a great film, and it was even better for me on my second viewing. What Aster wants us to feel is so unclear, but that's what's so good about it. We can't help but hate how both sides treat the people as cannon fodder in our own lives, and for what we think is patriotic duty, or for what just satisfies our personal beliefs and needs, despite and the government itself as well, despite the bravado of taking care of us. It's also very funny while being just as dark, satirizing nearly every part of American consciousness at this time. How, when lost, we look to find something to believe in at any cost, and being so influenced by the most convincing people with the most insane ideals, which is really, really encapsulated very well with Austin Butler's character and his relationship with the sheriff's wife, played by Emma Stone. And it is stressful in a way to watch this because this time in history was not that long ago for everyone, but it hit the right spots for me and is very, really funny, and I really am glad I watched it a second time because it was even better for me. Now on to Prime Video. The first one up is The Ballad of Wallace Island. We follow a former folk music singer, Herb McGuire, and he's one half of a formerly popular modern folk music group. He travels to an island to play after receiving a too good to refuse offer. Little does he know, when he arrives, he's hired to play for just one man on the island who is a super fan. Now, on the surface, already as I'm saying it, I didn't realize that it sounds almost like a setup to a horror film or a thriller. High concept, and you don't know where it's going, but the opposite of that is true. It is a sweet and tender drama comedy that deals with passage of time in life, moving forward, and grief. The main character, Herb McGuire, played by Thomas Basden, who also wrote the screenplay, is a bitter man and at times just kind of annoyed and mean to the man who hires him, Charles, played by Tim Key, who is currently also on the Office spinoff, The Paper. He is a widower who just is this huge, adorable super fan and wants to hear music from his favorite singer at his home, basically. It is charming, quiet, and just a delight. Charles is a man that you just want to be friends with, and I really recommend The Ballad of Wallace Island. The second recommendation on Prime right now is Black Bag, directed by Steven Soderbergh. The fact that it's still in my brain this long into the year, 9 months later, is a testament to how good it is. It follows Catherine and George, played by Cate Blanchett and Michael Fassbender, respectively, two high intelligence agents working for the British government. When George is given information one day that implicates his wife into being a traitor against the country, he has to grapple with loyalty to his country or his wife. This is a clean 90-minute thriller with some comedy levied in there. Fassbender is terrific here, being incredibly quiet but impactful with intention. Blanchett is also very good. Both of them always are incredible. Soderbergh does these little thrillers every year, mostly under 2 hours, and we should all be just honestly thanking him for it. I highly recommend Black Bag. It is in my top 10, if not top 15 of the year. It is really, really good, and I really hope you guys check it out. Now, I know Shudder is lesser known as far as streaming services go, and much smaller than most of them, but it's worth checking out, especially if you love horror in that kind of genre filmmaking. It is exclusively all genre films on there. Here are two from this year that they distributed that I think are worth checking out and worth your time. The first is Dangerous Animals. It is essentially about a serial killer in Australia who kidnaps people and feeds them to sharks while making films out of it. It is a total blast. Tense, funny at times, and Jai Courtney gives one of the better performances of his career, genuinely. He is having a total blast, and there are definitely moments with the direction that got darker than I expected. If you like ocean set or shark based horror thrillers, this is one of the better ones I've seen in a while, and I highly recommend it. The second recommendation off of Shudder is Clown in a Cornfield, based on the novel the same name. It takes place as our main character and her father move into a small town after the death of her mother. This gives the old school Somerset small town slasher vibe. Of course, that literally is what it is, but the effect to how it doesn't feel gimmicky or hacky. It feels like someone who loves the genre and delivers thrills that are their own. There are some definite fun scares and surprises, so if you like slashers, Clown in a Cornfield is one you should watch. Now, I do have a recommendation for Hulu. This one is called The Roses. The Roses follows a married couple played by Olivia Colman and Benedict Cumberbatch as they are at the end of their love, and we see them meet and their marriage through the years. It is a dark comedy, that's for sure. Cumberbatch and Coleman are terrific as always. Where it falls short for me quite a bit is when it gives more screen time to the side characters. It is a really funny movie, but then when the side characters come in, it feels like it's trying to be funny without just naturally being. But when it comes to dark comedies that are about relationships and marriages and dynamics within a family, this one is definitely quite a bit of a blast, to be honest. I just wish that it gave more time to the central family versus the side characters. Now, these are the majority of the recommendations I wanted to give you guys for this year. They are by no means my favorite, like I said before, and a best of the year list is going to come later on. This is more so just to catch up on some that are streaming for free if you have these services. Some others that I wanted to include are The Phoenician Scheme on Peacock. It's Wes Anderson's latest that was a lot of fun. Benicio del Toro is great again in another performance of his. The Naked Gun reboot on Paramount Plus. Liam Neeson taking over the lead role was genius and was honestly a really good successor to Leslie Nielsen. The Gorge on Apple TV Plus. Not some remarkable, groundbreaking sci-fi action film, but one that has characters that worked for me and definitely brought it up for me on how much I enjoyed it. And the last one is on Mubi. It is called Lurker. It is an obsession story in the modern music industry world that was every bit uncomfortable as it was tense. Great work there. I highly recommend that one for sure. Alright, well, thank you for tuning in to today's episode. For the next one, it will be another installment in the Director Dive series. This one is a lot of fun talking about already, and I can't wait to release the full thing to you guys. You will have no choice but to listen to it, if that's a hint. You can keep up to date on the show on Instagram at PodWatchMovies and on Bluesky at watchmoremovies.bsky.social. Please subscribe, Apple or Spotify, YouTube. Follow me on Letterboxd as well at JustRickyD. I update as I watch movies, so if you want to know what I'm watching, even podcasts unrelated, you can see it on there. And until next time, watch more movies.